Naturally, a YouTube channel dedicated to discussing games will have a comment section filled with their own opinions and thoughts. I also seen several people reciting some of their own personal history with Fallout. These commenters' history include what games they started with, what elements of the franchise they enjoy the most, and their views on Fallout today. Having played and beaten each of the major titles multiple times, I feel like I have a rounded view of the franchise. So, let me go through my own history, and you, dear viewer, tell me yours. Mine started, like most, with Fallout 3. I remember when I first got it. Without getting too personal, the day I heard about Fallout wasn't really a pleasant day. There was a lot of family issues going on. A friend of my sister told me about this post-apocalyptic game called Fallout 3. I didn't really get it, but he let me borrow his copy for the Xbox 360. I asked him if I should play the originals first. He seemed quite hesitant to say yes. Later that night, staring at the cover, I decided, why not, and gave it a play. I wasn't expecting much, to be honest, but I fell in love. The smashed up world, the darker atmosphere, the music that played on the radio, all of it. But more than anything, I loved the choices I was allowed. See, up until that night, the only title that I played that allowed moral choices was Fable. And that was a game I gushed over too. But this game, at the time, still a teenager in high school, I thought this was the best game ever. A bit later, I discovered New Vegas. My impressions at the time? I didn't like the world so much. Barren desert was boring compared to the broken rubble of the capital wasteland. That's a thought process I see very common these days. I also didn't like Mr. New Vegas nearly as much as I liked Three Dog, feeling his calm demeanor paled to Three Dog's more energetic one. And if you watch my radio host ranking video, you know that's flipped around today. Still, I enjoyed the four-way war, but there were these odd thoughts in my head. Why were the Brotherhoods so different to the ones I knew and loved from Fallout 3? I felt they were wrong, all wrong. In the NCR, I didn't actually think NCR was a real nation, just guys acting like soldiers. And you can also imagine my shock when I discovered Jacobstown. Green super mutants? Blue super mutants? Smart super mutants? What is going on? It was silly of me, yes. But Fallout 3 gave me an entirely different impression of what Fallout was than what was true. Overall, I liked New Vegas plenty, but Fallout 3, just the wasteland alone, I liked it so much better. So, college rolled around. Sitting in my dorm, I decided, you know what would be cool? Trying out Fallout 1. My immediate expectations were something akin to 3R New Vegas, and then I saw this. What? Okay, well this is different. But I tried to play. Eventually I figured out enough to kill the rats, but man was it tedious. Very tedious. And there was a glitch due to the newer hardware it was running on. It's the one where the screen will blacken up, and interaction will clear it. At the time, I thought it was an intended feature or something. My thought process was they were going for something artistic. The post-apocalyptic world obstructs your view. I discovered Shady Sands, talked to a few people, felt unimpressed by Aradesh, ran off, and died to the rat scorpions in the cave. Rage quit. It was not what I was expecting at all. And I became anti-classic. Perhaps this was my shortest phase. I wasn't really a Fallout community guy at the time, not really. But the times I did talk about online, I was sure to really lay into the old games. It just sucks, or simply, it's not fun. Anytime I debated someone, they'd bring up lore bits or these weird changes that Fallout 3 introduced, like the differences between Lion's Brotherhood and the real Brotherhood. I simply just say something along the lines of, doesn't it make sense that there be defenders of the wasteland? Eventually, however, it began to eat at me that I really couldn't argue my points. How could I defend my position when I knew next to nothing about the old games, or their stories? It bothered me much more than it really should have. I tried looking up the wikis, but it didn't exactly stick. Okay, there was a master, a super mutant named Harry, but man, it's hard to actually just absorb it all without the experience. Finally, I settled on a goal. I would beat the original games just to see their stories and never touch them again. I pulled up the Ultimate Fallout Guide, researched the build, followed some questing stuff when I needed it. As I played the game and got more and more used to it, it just all started to make sense. The controls, the combat, to the point where I didn't feel like I needed the guide anymore. And I got sucked into the world of the first game, surprisingly so. As I beat the game, I watched the Vault Dweller walk into the Horizon, with Maybe playing, and I felt like I just witnessed the best stories in the series so far. I was less taken in by Fallout 2. but I also really enjoyed it. And when I beat it, I put down the games. Finally, I started to get the issues people had with the third game. But it didn't matter. I still love the third game. And I really didn't like the gameplay of the first 2 Fallouts, but that's fine. Because I went in with the intention of never playing the first 2 Fallout games ever again. And I stuck by that, right? Not right. I decided, well, since I recently beat the first 2 games, why not replay 3? And as I did so, I began to grow more and more frustrated with 3. Why are the mutants so stupid? Why are the Brotherhood this way? Why does this guy have an Irish accent? What's with this stupid harem? Why this? Why that? Why? I refinished Fallout 3, and a great distaste grew in my mouth. Then I replayed Fallout New Vegas. Everything felt like it fit together a lot better. I got the references. I recognized things. It all just seemed sensible. And that's when I realized I started to change as a fan. I joined forums, talked down to Bethesda fans, and if I'm being truthful, I was a real jerk. I was also pretty misguided in some lore elements. In fact, that misguidedness is part of why I created this channel. Fallout 4 came and went. I played it. A bit impressed with some aspects of it, like the way power armor felt, or the presentation of Arthur Maxon's Brotherhood, but I still talked a lot of smack about it. However, there was something that came that changed me once more. The release of Fallout 76. Not for a gameplay standpoint, mind you, no. But when I saw specific elements of the classic titles being referenced, such as the Pip-Boy 2000, I started to soften up a bit. It reminded me of how Fallout 4 referenced some of the West Coast titles. I guess just seeing classical stuff being brought up made me happy. Prior to seeing this, I never touched Nuka World, and when I did, I saw the Hubologist in there, and that just confirmed it for me. I guess I was a bit ticked off with Bethesda, under my false impressions that they were ignoring the West Coast. But after I see so many classic elements being used, which was enhanced even more with a Wastelanders update for 76, Plasma Caster, I just mellowed out. I learned to enjoy some specific elements from each Fallout games for what they were, and not entirely choosing a side. I can enjoy, for instance, the storytelling of Fallout 1, but feel the power armor of Fallout 4 is a vast improvement. I can also talk about my dislikes too, but also praise it when I think it does well. Artistic design of a lot of things in 4, pretty great. Even if the super mutants are a bit butt ugly. The radio being introduced in Fallout 3, also nice. The variety of creatures in 76, 10 out of 10. These days, I would still say I'm more of a classic fan than not. But picking a side, please. I'm too old for that, man. And I hate that I could only say that a couple of years ago. I know my videos are a little clickbaity with some of the titles, such as my Did Bethesda Ruin series, which I'm working on one for the Death Claws right now. But the videos themselves try to be objective. All in all, I say I accepted Fallout for what it is now. I still have my criticisms, absolutely. And there's the things I like to see done, biases that I would love to see play out. But man, every Fallout game has something great to it. What about you? What's your Fallout fan journey? Thank you very, very much for sticking around till the end. If you like my content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And stick around for more content that will come in the future.